Okay.
Hello. Sorry.
Hello.
First time.
Yes.
Well, no, I mean, first time, like, kind of.
Well, first time, like, actually doing this as us. Like,
yeah, it's true.
Actually
Mostly
running the
just
stream.
like go on other shows.
Yeah, exactly. So happy to be here.
Sweet.
Hopefully everybody can see us. One of those. All right, Tanner. I think this is your show, and I'm just gonna like hang out and watch you and then support you. So go for it.
Well, and keep in mind, I might need to duck out for a few seconds here.
Yeah, no.
I got a newborn next to me.
Yeah,
so.
Tough night, huh?
In fact, now might be one of those times. So I'm going to give you like 30 seconds.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. So yeah, this is our first live stream, and we are just we got some things that we want to talk to you about, and we're really excited about it. So we got a whole bunch of our contributors here, and okay, and of course we're watching your comments. I used to do this a long time ago, like 2 years ago, I guess. I used to do a lot of live streaming, but I've only been on shows since. So I just kind of we'll see how we go. But yeah, if you can put in the comment what you'd be excited about hearing about, that would help us a lot as well, because I know that there's a lot of folks who have TanStack libraries who are in the kind of green room right now, and yeah, they want to know what you want to hear about. I'm doing good, thank you.
I'm back.
Hey, there he is.
I have a contingency in my arms, so.
Oh.
Yeah, he's 3 weeks old. The latest addition to the TanStack team.
Wow.
So, yeah,
yeah,
it's been great. All right. So, I mean, there's no reason to hang around too long and just, swap anecdotes or anything like that. So let's just get into it. Yeah, this is our first time doing a stream like as TanStack. And I think this might actually be the first video on any official TanStack social media stuff that we have, like the TanStack YouTube account and Twitter. I don't think we've ever done anything from those accounts yet. So this is pretty awesome. The biggest thing that I wanted to talk about today was I wanted to start off talking about the brand. As I have this logo in the back of me, I wanted to talk a little bit about it, give a little bit of history. So I've told this story a couple of times, but I figured I'd make it canonical for the first video on the TanStack YouTube. But when I needed to come up with a name for all these open source libraries that we were building, it was a nickname given to me by Sean Wang, Swix, if you know him by Swix. But he kept calling me TanStack because this was the era of Jamstack. And he thought it was funny to call me TanStack. So he did that for a long time, and it kind of just stuck. And then I leaned into it when I discovered that the SEO for TanStack was going to be like amazing. Nobody else on the planet uses this term other than me. So I decided to lean into it, and I needed a logo. So I literally just like Microsoft Paint style threw together this really infantile logo. And it was fun, and I just kept it because I wanted it to be very non-serious. But as things started to grow, the brand needed to grow up and evolve to be a little bit more serious each time. And this is actually the second version of the logo. I built this one with the help of AI using the original one, and it was much better, but it still is highly complex. And there's some things that I like about it, some things that I don't. But another shift happened a couple months ago when I just started to feel like we needed some more seriousness to come into the brand and really take it seriously. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that all by myself. Also, another problem that we were having is that we were just leaning into AI like everybody else. And that wasn't because we wanted to, but it's because every single person on the TanStack team I know that if any of us needed to design something for TanStack and be a designer, we could probably do a pretty good job, but we don't have the time to do that. We are busy doing the product for TanStack. So we needed to bring somebody on to the team that was actually going to own the brand and own what the brand felt like, and as part of that transition help us design something completely new. So I want to bring Andy on right now. Andy's a good friend of mine, and actually Andy was my college roommate, and so we've been close ever since, and a very talented designer. And when Andy showed me where he wanted to take the TanStack brand, I just got super excited about it. So I'm going to let Andy introduce the new brand and some of the fun things about it.
Cool. Thanks, Tanner. I can present, right?
I think so.
Okay. Let's see here. Probably should have figured this out before. I'm just going to kind of tell the story of how it kind of came across. So first, Tanner came to me and he's like, "Hey, we need a merch operation." So I have a soft spot for merch and basically t-shirt designs, screen printing, you name it. I do family reunion t-shirts, all that stuff, just as like a fun hobby, right? So Tanner said, "Hey, my merch store, it's a thing, but it's not a thing. We need to make it a bigger thing. We want some cool swag. We want maintainers to have the sweetest gear at conferences, etc." So I started working on the merch store a bit, and largely just, you can see my screen right now. You can see the t-shirts, right, that I'm kind of scrubbing through.
Yeah, and those are some of the existing shirts that we had, right?
Yep. So I started working through that, and I realized that, you know, we needed to do some work on the brand. And so I actually didn't tell Tanner, but I had a friend of mine do some work to explore some specific directions for a rebrand for TanStack. And I knew that Tanner was busy enough that he didn't have time to like really decide that this was necessary and that I needed to show him. And so I had my friend pick workshop 3 different directions, and we did some explorations and we presented this to TanStack. And it did exactly what I hoped, is it got Tanner to realize the potential of the TanStack brand and the directions we could go. So here's some of the directions. You guys might find this curious, but kind of taking some distinct directions graphically and with the logo. But we settled on this, and this is kind of the version he fell in love with and that we fell in love with. So we took that and we started to, start to fill out the brand and kind of evolve it and establish, type hierarchy and styles. And all of these things are still in progress, right? I don't want anybody to think that it's like done and dusted, like we are set for days. Like, it's an evolving thing, and we're always workshopping new ideas and evolving those concepts. And so that led to, hey, well, if we're going to rebrand, we're going to have a significant job on our hands to redesign the website and embed those attributes, those styles, those components, the brand itself in the website. So that's where this website update goes. And as part of that, one of the most integral parts as a designer, you kind of want to be able to manage and see everything in one place. And so that led to the design system for TanStack. We call it the DS for short, but we have all of the logos available, and we've established a color palette and theme so that we can establish some level of controls around color management, because the old brand colors were very all over the place, right? Every library was a separate color, and it just wasn't scalable. So we
Are you saying that rainbows aren't, a wise branding choice?
It's not that the rainbow's the issue. It's that I don't think we should use brown for a library color. we're just running out of colors, right? So
I think we just never counted on that, like when we first started out, it was like, well, yeah, we should give this library a color. That seems cool. We only have 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And self-fulfilling prophecy. We chose color, and we knew we were going to run out of color space eventually.
And I just want to stop and say this first. Like I've said this to you multiple times, Tanner, but TanStack has gotten to where it's at in terms of like street cred on merit alone. It has not been overly marketed. It has not been overly designed. It's not been historically the thing that is focused on. So like when it comes to substance in terms of like the value that it offers developers and engineers, it's got a lot of that. And that's what it's got going for it, is that as we do a lot of these things, these are largely just like the low-hanging fruit. Like as we be intentional about design, we can really refine the brand and the experience on the website to match the quality and level of craft that's in the tools or the libraries themselves, right? So that's what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to catch the brand and the design language and all of those elements up to the quality of the libraries. So just want to call that out first. So as you go to the website now, under support design system, this is where you'll see all of these elements. And as we add specific items, like one of my new favorites is this headbanger loader. I'm planning to come up with a lot more of these, so you guys have a lot of fun little things that you can use. But this is the tip of the iceberg, just a little idea of what we want to go to in terms of customization. We really want to standardize broad strokes, design language throughout the website and our tooling and our pages, but then offer a lot of like choice in choosing little elements like this that we can make personal to each library, et cetera. So in the future, we want to really expand on this icon set and make a custom set of marks for each, a custom mark for each library that also nests nicely under the flagship brand. So we really want to just evolve the brand and make it more intentional. So as you go through, you can see, providing different formatting for different stats and different things like that. The nav bar, I want these elements to be kind of systematic and controllable so that quality can be maintained easily. And we don't have to just have boilerplate kind of tailwind styles, etc. But we can be more intentional. Anything to add there, Tanner?
Yeah, something that you brought up during this design process is that like it's weird that we are clearly designing tools to be used in the age of AI, and we're very AI aware and have to be, because that's the future of technology. But it's becoming way more important, and you've taught me this, is to like, the distinguishing factor that sets you apart now from the bar that is so easy to meet in design is like the intentional human aspects of all of it. And I think one of the words that has constantly been said kind of with this new direction is organic. We just want everything to feel organic, and organic doesn't necessarily, mean like the earthy definition that people think of. I like to think of it as it's beautiful by being imperfect, and yes, almost deliberately so in some places. And absolutely, AI is super good at reaching for levels of perfectionism and surrealism in a lot of places. And we're just really trying to go the opposite direction with our design, almost to the point where, for an AI tool, we want to feel like it's completely the opposite lifestyle brand.
Exactly. And I'll even add to that is that as we're iterating on this, in true TanStack style development, we're going to be releasing early and often and getting feedback as we go. We're not going to be, holding things back to make it perfect, only to release it and have it not be received well. We want it to be received and informed by the community, by the partners that we have, and other groups that that value what we do. So that being said, there's a lot that's gone into this, but mainly the things that we've tried to do up front is establish a cohesive design system, at least a starting point, and we'll continue to add to it. And then obviously the landing pages for the libraries, we need the help of the community and the maintainers to kind of wrangle, some of the sub pages and things like that. But ultimately, we just want to make it easier for people to browse and find the best offering for TanStack. Part of that includes this section here, working on the builder so that it loads and is a nice experience, adding the ability to basically direct prompt in to your IDE and, just kind of giving everything a refresh. And like I said before, this is the tip of the iceberg. I don't know if we want to do questions or anything like that, or if anybody wants to see anything specific. But
Maybe some questions will roll in through the chat as we go, but
okay.
I think we can probably answer any important ones at the end if we want. So
sounds good.
Sad. I'm both sad and happy that I get to retire this logo sitting on my wall behind me. I was gonna try and have the new one built for this live stream, but it's made out of like super thick gauge metal. And the guy who made it for me was not available on such short notice. So yeah, I'm really excited about the new brand, and I'm really excited about the swag. Like the goal for me is to be able to wear TanStack garb without my wife noticing or caring. And if I can pull out a shirt and throw it on and she's like, "Whoa, cool shirt. Where did you get that?" Oh, and she sees TanStack and I'm like, yeah, she like, if I can inception people into like, hey, that's a really cool shirt. Like, where'd you get that? And it's like, oh, it happens to be TanStack, and it doesn't scream, I got this shirt at a tech conference, So everything Andy's shown me up to this point, I'm super excited about that. Definitely stay tuned for more swag.
And the merch store is going to be largely an R&D area where we kind of go crazy with the brand, or it's not as constrained. So if you guys have ideas, we're all ears on things you'd like to see or ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't wait. All right. Yeah. Well, Andy, thank you so much. A lot of work went into this. And so if we could applaud, we would. And we'd give it all to Andy.
We can applaud. Come on. There you go.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to continue to be awesome. So thank you so much, Andy.
The site looks great. And I'm really excited about being able to like kind of replace my TanStack phone case.
Yeah, me too.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
All right. Good. Okay.
We'll still always maintain the classic TanStack logo versions, but
okay.
They won't be emphasized.
It's retro now. It's considered.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we need to change like the
retro away. Yeah, it's our away jersey.
And we have some retro inspired swag in the store also, and probably more coming too. So
that's man. Oh my gosh, my wife's got to get new hoodies. Or we do this whole thing with the hoodies. And
I have mine that you gave me.
Yeah. But it'll be so much cooler now because like the whole back could just be like the palm tree,
Yeah.
And because we wanted a thing where we could go into, I think it was like React Conf 2025, the last one. And we wanted it so we could, like anywhere in the area, people would see like TanStack, so we had these like
spot us out of a crowd. Right?
Exactly. This is like stark white TanStack. Come to me, talk about TanStack. So this is great.
Andy, I'm going to take you off the stage and we're going to bring on anyone else who wants to talk about what's coming up next. If anybody wants to come on to chat about this, just raise your hand and I'll bring you on. Otherwise, it'll just be me and Jack. Oh, I almost saw a hand go up, but that's fine. So, yeah, we have some more stuff to talk about. And this is going to be pretty rapid fire, but we just kind of wanted to give everybody, all the maintainers at TanStack, everybody seems to be working on something new or cool or some new version of something that is like either a multiplier better or cooler feature or something like that. And we haven't done this in a while, so I figured we should give some space for everybody to just have even just 5 minutes to, you know, let everybody know what we're working on and kind of give some sneak peeks and teasers about things, or just show off what we're excited about. And I think one of those things that we should start off with collectively, is that between all of us, we're all kind of buzzing right now about a new framework that
Octane.
was just released, right? Or at
Yeah.
least in,
Yeah,
it
no, it was
beta
released
already?
Monday. Yeah, it was released Monday.
Released on
It
Monday.
kind of took me by surprise. I was like, oh, okay.
Octane, yeah.
I thought I had a little time on this, like make some content, whatever. Like,
Yeah,
that's
and
great. Let's go.
we don't need to spend too much time here, but it is really interesting. You know, Dominic Ganway, he's been hard at work over the last few years, just like really experimenting with all of these new ideas around, you know, what could the future of React look like. He worked on Svelte for a while. He built something called Ripple. There was another one that he did, but I can't remember what it was. Inferno.
Oh,
Was kind of
Inferno,
like
yeah.
an older one, right?
Yeah.
And then he started work on TSRX, this new like file syntax. And now it's Octane, and Octane's like the spiritual successor to all of it. And with Ripple and kind of Inferno and all these other projects that he was doing, I'd look at him like, wow, that's really interesting. But I don't know if I would feel good moving to that or using that right now or in the near future.
It would take an entirely different mental model.
Yeah, like thought experiments, right?
Yeah.
But Octane hit really different for me. When I saw Octane, especially where he's like, oh, and it's pretty much backwards compatible with React. I was like, whoa, this is pretty nuts. Because, you know, the benchmarking that he was coming out with was really impressive. The developer experience that I saw possible, and it was really cool. And some of the neat features about Octane, like rules of hooks being super relaxed to basically almost gone. There's a lot of interesting aspects about it, and this doesn't need to turn into like an Octane release podcast, but I think the part that we're all excited about is that we had proofs of concept or working versions of adapters for all of our libraries up and running within minutes for Octane.
Yeah. It was crazy how easy it was. And
in fact, Dominic himself ported TanStack router over to Octane without even telling us, and launched the Octane website using it. And we had no idea. So the compatibility story and transition story is very, very attractive here.
Yeah, and it's an upgrade. Like if you had issues with dependency arrays and things like that, it's a compile time system, so it handles all of that for you. You don't have to deal with dependency arrays, but you still have things like use state, use context, use reducer. All your old familiar favorites from React are there. They're just easier to use, and the performance is bonkers. Like I actually ran a head-to-head between Octane, Solid, Remix V3, basically anything I could pick that was going to be like, and vanilla, you know, as hot as possible. And it was right there. It was right there with them all. So it's a huge performance upgrade, as well as being just a really nice way to kind of take your mental model of React and just bring it into like a new framework without having to have any of the gotchas that came along with old React or any new framework. So really exciting.
Well, yeah, I think we're just really, I'm impressed, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I also know that Dominic has he's got his eyes on the prize. And I am just as confident as I've been in the past about Solid being, a very deserving and viable path forward from, an aging React. Octane is right there next to it.
Oh yeah.
So, people thinking like, oh, front end frameworks like this, they're dead. AI's killed everything, and React is the end. Yeah, I don't think. I think that a lot of the ideas that React has won will live on for a very, very, very long time. But to think that we're done, it would be insane.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was a great time for it too. I mean, with the agentic world, it's so easy to port. And this is like a really easy port target.
Yeah.
Because basically most of the code remains the same. TRSX changes a little bit. You get the same like loop dynamics and things like that. There's tags for that, but it's fine. Yeah. It's really easy. Okay. So yeah. Hey, Manuel, I'm going to drop off and let you guys have it.
Hello, Manuel. Welcome to the stage. Uh-oh, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I need to unmute myself.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Great. So yeah, I didn't know I was on. So I was just reporting a bug on the news side. So
you're good. I have you on the list first because I'm obviously excited about Start and Router and kind of what's happening there. Even the cool stuff that we're doing like internally that no one really knows about yet. But if you want the opportunity, you totally have a couple of minutes to talk about whatever you want. And then after Manuel, the order that we're going to go, I think we're going to do Luca and the Forum team next. I'd like to have Jack go on after that. I need a few minutes to prep my 5-minute segment because I'm one-handed right now. So I'm going to try and go last if I can. And then we'll just kind of keep it rolling from there.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I don't have that much to share about Start. We are currently still stabilizing it. So right now we're in a pretty big rewrite of the router core that's been going on for I don't know how many iterations. So yeah, we spent lots of tokens on that. So we accumulated specifically Flow accumulated lots of bugs and issues that we're now hopefully merging soon. And so then there's like just a single thing left for Start that we need to do because it will be not like a breaking API change, but a behavioral change that we need to do before we declare it stable. But I am pretty confident that in August, we will have something that people can then use as stable. So, I mean, August is soon, so I guess we will soon have another stream then on that. Yeah, so are there any like questions on Start? Then I can go.
Yeah, let's look through. I know there's a ton of comments right now. Someone says Manuel. Oh, LM says this Manuel guy's always cooking. Someone says, what is the breaking behavioral change?
Yeah, so right now when you throw an error in Start, we will just catch it if you don't catch it, and we will convert it to a error response. And this prevents you to catch the error yourself at the server entry point, which prevents things like Sentry to work properly because you will never get the error because we already do it and wrap it into a response. So if you will be using a custom server entry point, then you will need to catch the error yourself. It's a small change, but it will enable observability at that level, and without that, it's not possible. So, I mean, if you won't be using, or if you're not using custom server entry point, nothing changes for you. But as soon as you do, you will need to catch these errors at the top level, the latest. I mean, you can do it obviously earlier in a middleware, wherever you want to. But if you don't, then you might crash your server if you don't convert it to a actual response.
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, it needs to happen, but
yeah,
it'll be a good change. Yeah, okay. So I saw somebody say, is there any plans for partial pre-rendering? I don't know if we should answer that question yet. The one thing that I wanted to say that I think is cool is that X TanStack.com is going through a rewrite to TanStack router, which is a huge adoption signal for us. And along with the many private applications and people moving to TanStack that we can't mention yet, but
Yeah.
Are really, really exciting that hopefully we'll be able to share soon. Well, if there's nothing else, I think probably move on to form.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's bring Luca.
All right. Hello.
Corbin.
I feel kind of called out here with the profile picture.
Anyone else want to come on? Raise your hand if you want to come on. All right.
Adios.
All righty. So, over the last couple months, we of course have had to do a lot of discussions regarding form. So I think it's quite easy to just showcase what we've been working on over the last couple months. Just going to figure out how to actually share a screen. Yeah, that's not really what I want to do. Maybe. Let's see.
Maybe I can start with a bit of context for the crowd.
Sure.
So, naturally, I think it was sometime last year that we launched TanStack Form V1. Might have been a little earlier than that. But while we've been broadly happy with a lot of the like flexibility that TanStack Form provides, we thought, what if we could keep extending that further? Like, what if we could like really sit down, reevaluate some of the early decisions that we made that made it into V1, and see if there was things that we could like go farther with. So Luca has been doing a lot of experimentation alongside Harry on the form maintainer side. So we are beginning to make pretty substantial progress on a Form V2. Certainly this will be a breaking change, but it's not a breaking change for no reason. There is quite a bit of interesting things going on. So without further ado, Luca, take it away.
All right, so let's actually start off with just a raw comparison of the kind of performance gains that we can expect. So in here, I just set up a basic array where without virtualization, we just create n amount of fields. So for example, 50 is quite small. Let's actually just start out with kind of a bigger one, 500. Even in V1, you can like type quite quickly in here. It's not that big of a deal. Also swaps and whatnot are quite fast. You do notice, however, that the submit, while it is fast in here, it does get quite slow the larger the array becomes. For example, without even changing anything, when I'm submitting, it already takes longer. And as I increase this, I need to be a bit careful because around 5,000, Waterfox actually crashed. So I'll try to keep it at 3,000. So the swaps are still okay, but as soon as you submit, it really just takes about 3 seconds. Okay, that's almost like 7 seconds of waiting for the submit to go through. So
and certainly this is something that we've been working on improving over time. I think the version not even that long ago was even a little worse than that, right? So like,
it was definitely
not trying to. Yeah, it's not that we're not trying to work on performance for V1, but as we looked kind of down the barrel of optimizations, we realized like, oh, there's more we can do from a more fundamental perspective.
Yeah, so let's actually start off right with the 3000 that we had before, because now we are on version 2. And as you might have seen just now, it is quite fast with just reloading it all. This destroys and mounts the form behind the scenes. It doesn't really have a problem with that. And if we submit, it basically takes no time at all. We can even go a bit farther. Let's go with like 10,000. That's one too many. And still, it's an acceptable amount of time for having to access 10,000 fields, I would say. But overall, the performance, I'm really happy with how it came along. And most of that just wasn't possible without risking some breaking changes.
Yeah,
so speaking of those,
something that to flag there is like, that's non-virtualized. That's literally loading like 10,000 DOM nodes, right? And there's certainly some like genuine questions of like who loads 3,000 fields in one page in the comments. which is like super valid. And I think one of the reasons why we like have been a little hesitant towards performance in V1, because, you know, like certainly for even pretty reasonable size forms, even decent size forms, I think V1's performance is like acceptable. But like this is just an example. Like there are other reasons to adapt V2 that we're going to showcase that I think are even more exciting than performance. But come on, we're all engineers here. Like, who doesn't love a good performance gain at the end of the day? And certainly, if nothing else, it means that we're going to have more performant applications like by default as you move to the newer features of V2. So.
All right. So yeah, like as far as the performance goes, yeah, most people will not care, especially because you know, like usually it's just a couple of milliseconds of like delay, but especially with like on-change validation, that does become quite a problem the more fields you have, and that is of course also something we're trying to assess. Now, regarding the actual code, I suppose I can just showcase the new syntax, right? All right. So,
and someone else had asked if TanStack's TypeScript V7 is supported. We tested it, and even in version 1, V7 should be fully supported in Form and many of our other libraries.
Yeah, so hopefully you can see the screen. As far as the arrays go, the syntax is basically equal, and since we're
I don't think we can see.
I don't think you're sharing, Luca.
Let's
Yeah, I was gonna
get that
say.
Not sharing
checked
the screen.
first.
Interesting. Okay, I guess that did not share the screen.
Also, as an aside, yeah, Harry's just flexing on us with the location. Like,
Yeah, well, you know, if you're a TanStack maintainer, you gotta live the TanStack lifestyle. Unfortunately,
yeah, you gotta have the
if
best.
you message Tanner, he'll book your holiday free of charge.
All right. Just need to figure out how to. Ah, great. Now it has blocked me. I can't believe this. Why would it do this to me now? All right, there we go. That should work now. Yeah, hopefully if I just share the entire screen, then it'll be fine. Though you will be flashed by you guys. There we go. That should be better.
Nope.
So,
we still don't see anything.
still not? I am having this open right now. I don't understand what the problem is. Can you see it now?
No.
There we go. Look at this beauty.
Wait, Luca, we still can't see anything.
What do you mean?
Hey,
What do you
Tanner, I
mean?
don't know if there's something that you have to do to click to like show the screen on
Approve
All
the
right,
share.
how about now? Would it now it says I am, but I don't
There we
care.
go. We got
yeah,
it.
that works. No,
Is
that
it? Okay.
Yeah,
What if I
It
do
you're
could
full
have been my
screen?
fault. Very much could have been my fault because I've never driven a StreamYard before. But you're right. There, a little window popped up, so I added it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you can see a file called index.tsx. I just want to confirm before I do anything.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And,
All
and I
right,
think the first thing to show here is that, like, you know, there are certainly going to be API changes, but there are also areas where the API is not changing broadly, right? So we still have use form, use app form, we still have form.field.
Right.
Like this should still look fairly familiar, at least from this screen in particular.
Right, but there are also changes, especially things that became a lot easier compared to the way we handle it in V1. For example, something that users might be noticing is this string field here with field as a property. That used to be much more difficult. You had to use an app form to actually get this working. But when you go into string field, you can see we now have helper types to get us through certain properties that the user will need. This is, of course, a rather simple example. You just have like a field of a certain type. But when you go down here, for example, this here was also something that you had to do with form and do some composition with the options. Now it's as simple as using your form options and you get the form type right out of that. And you have access to all the same things. So if I go in here and I delete the name, I still have all the options that I want to have, which is quite convenient. And the options actually have some more usability to them now, because as someone that probably used schemas before, if anybody is in chat, it was quite difficult in V1. For example, let's make a V2 validator where we give it the run function. In this case, it's a schema. And we also tell it that it should run on every change. Just a very simple setup. Now, this is quite straightforward if the input type and the output type are exactly the same. And for example, with the SOT object, that's not always the case. Because if somebody decided, hey, I don't actually want them to give today as the default value, I want to give them null, then it would suddenly complain and give you a huge error message that is difficult to understand. To tackle this, we actually are tinkering with 2 new types. So the first one is strict schema, which actually does the opposite. It takes the schema that you have in a validator and it says, hey, your default values actually don't align, with a much more readable error so that it knows, hey, this is supposed to be a date. And even for the people that want a bit of a loose starting point, they can now use loose schema, which gives you the option of automatically figuring out, is something a nullable date while still being required by the schema, for example. But if we give it a new date and it aligns, then it's totally fine. There's no nullability here. We can even go one step further than that, and we can give it a value that we're reading, because this value is actually the input value, and it would be nullable even though the schema verified that it cannot be null, which would, of course, be quite irritating. So we also have this brand new object, which is schema outputs. And we can just get all the schema results out of there. In this case, we only have one. And you can see that's exactly the object that we need to send to the server and the like. So there's a lot of types. Yeah.
And to be explicit with schema outputs, this solves a very long-standing feature request for TanStack Form, where the ability to do transformations on schemas are now passed through to the onSubmit finally. So this means that, you know, if you have a coerce, or if you have any type of transformation that goes from input to output transform in your schema, it's passed right along through.
Right.
And before we go, Luca,
yeah,
do you want to just give a quick demo of the new DevTools as well? Because I think we're running out of time right now.
Right. Let's actually show that. Hopefully in a way that doesn't just expose everything and actually works this time around. So that will be back in the...
We're doing it live, baby.
Right. So we also have some like larger examples where we just go crazy with the UI integration. For example, this is... Hold on, before I say anything, you can see the screen?
No, we can't. So Tanner, I think you need to add it.
No?
Approve it, Tanner.
Really? I'm being impressed.
Now it's working.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. So yeah, we basically built large forms and then also tinker with them ourselves to figure out what the types need and whatnot. And part of that is having a really good DevTools. So for example, in here, you can see the current step includes guest names and phone number.
Bump the size a bit so we can see it better.
Yeah. Luca, if we can zoom in on across the board.
The question is if I can zoom, it kind of consumes my scroll here for some reason. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
Hopefully that works.
Yep.
Is it more readable now? All right.
Much better.
So I already blurred the field, so that's why it gives me a bunch of tags here already. But I can actually go in here and I can filter by the field that I'm looking for, even by certain properties like only the invalid fields. And I can also watch them live. So if I'm changing the guest name, I can see the value in real time. I can also see which form validator it was that actually set this error and when it happened. And also a little sneak peek of something, a preview of debugging, where we will catch some of the common errors that might happen. So of course, that's not quite done, but it is very exciting.
Hopefully, and then the only last thing that I wanted to mention is that someone had asked if async validators are supported. Absolutely, yes. We continue to support debouncing async validators. Like there's no feature that I can think of. Even form groups are still supported. You know, like everything that you would expect from functionality in V1 already supported in V2 today, even before we hit any alpha release. Even we've been doing quite a lot of dog fooding on V2, making sure that it lives up to our standards. So we're excited to hopefully even have some community feedback here soon.
Right. I think that should be pretty much all there is to V1 at the moment. A lot of internals and not a lot of show, but hopefully that gives a little sneak peek.
Yeah.
When will it be released? Good question.
It's always the trick, isn't it?
We'll
Yeah,
see.
we
see.
I think that my original estimation was quite a bit down the road. If anyone had seen like old tweets of mine, I think that we are much farther along than I had originally anticipated given our timeline. So certainly, without giving a specific date, we are closer than not. But we want to make sure that we are refining this to an immaculate sheen, having maybe even code mods at some point, but that we want to be able to support that migration path as the best we can.
Do code mods make sense in the agentic world anymore? I'm just maybe.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, especially because a lot of our APIs are not easily transferable from one to the other. So you know, it's something that like an agentic model would be able to transfer pretty easily. But yeah, I think code mods might be tricky here. So we'll figure it out though. We'll try to provide a good experience either way.
Awesome. All right, Tanner, we want to move on to AI. Yep, you muted, bro.
Said, yeah, let's move on and let's have you do AI.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
actually,
Alan's
Alum here
here.
as well. Yeah,
Good.
all right. Alum just ahead of his meeting this morning. Thanks so much for joining in,
Perfect.
man. Yeah, so Alum, let's talk about some of the new stuff coming in AI and when AI might hit 1.0.
All right. First of all, welcome everybody to the stream. And it started a long time ago, but hello everybody. Yeah.
Thanks for everybody for hanging in.
Yeah. So for me, I just joined, so keep that in mind. So yeah, I think I'm gonna let you head most of the conversation here, Jack. I think the main thing I want to talk about is our upcoming persistent story, which we have been working over like a month or month and a half at this point. And the reason we took this long is because there's so many pieces that like interact with each other, so it wasn't possible to like just like drop it in isolation. We had to touch all the parts of the system, from like the streaming stuff and transports and a lot of this stuff. But we are very close to releasing. The core has landed. We just need to land generation persistence and sandboxing persistence, and then we're good to go. So we are very close. I think we're gonna land generation this week and probably sandboxing this or next week, depends on the timeline, and we're gonna ship it. And with like 5 to 20 lines of code, you're gonna have fully durable and persistent chats and video generation, image generation, and stuff like that. So you will have something like a ChatGPT experience where you can like switch between threads. You can see them like stream in like real time, and then when you switch between two active threads that are like already speaking with an agent, you're gonna see that just like pop in without you having to like configure anything. And then you come after like a week, or you log into another device or something like that, or you'll all your chats and generations all persisted. And yeah, that's something that we've been working on, also like reconnecting and stuff like that. And then we have really like impressive interrupts. Yeah, and the last thing that is really cool is the interrupts from AGUI. We are now spec compliant, or we will be very soon when we launch. And like that is all from my side. So now, Jack, I'm gonna hand it back to you so you can speak about the rest of the stuff.
Well, that AGUI thing is actually like really important. We should drill down on that, what that means for a second, because what AGUI gives us is it gives us portability. It gives you as a customer like portability for your front end code to talk to any AGUI compliant backend. So basically, when you're doing chats, right, the stream of information that comes across, the chunks, right, are in some sort of format. And if you use other libraries, right, it's in their format. But we've decided that we want to go the standard way, standards-based way. And so we embrace this AGUI format. So as long as your Go server or your PHP server or whatever you have on the back end can talk AGUI, then you can use our hooks up on the front end and get a really nice experience. And then, of course, if you want to do the exact inverse, use our back end and get stuff on the front and use whatever you want on the front end, you can do that too, because everything's talking that AGUI standard. And it really genuinely works. Like just recently, I took a look at doing Versal's new native SDK thing and getting it to talk AGUI, and it was a snap. So really great. Yeah, so definitely that's a big win for us. Embeddings, we're going to re-add those because now we have multimodal embeddings, so you can get embeddings off of video, off of images or audio. We're bringing in memory, so now we're going to support memory as well, so you can go and hook up a memory engine to get full chat memory. So what that means is, as your customers are talking to your AI, it's actually getting little facts out of the stream. You can actually see those in the dev tools. It's really cool to actually see what it's remembering about you. And like all the stuff that we do, it's a pluggable back end. So we can talk to a bunch of different vendors right off the bat. But if you want to go and build your own memory or persistence and just put it in SQLite or whatever your back end is, along with your persistence data for the chats, that all works. And then finally, yeah, we have an Octane adapter, so we're really excited about that. So we want to support Octane right out of the box, and yeah, we came out with that right away. And that was, again, like, that's not a huge lift for the framework because of the way that we're architected, right? We have a really good client layer that works across, is completely agnostic. You can write, do vanilla with that. And then we've got like these nice little, not little, but, like small sized shim layers that give you, React and Vue. And we go across all the different ones, including now Octane. So really excited about that.
Yeah, and we are also bringing re-ranking as well with embedding, so you can do a lot of stuff with your documents, which is going to be really exciting. And I think something that I forgot to say about persistence, and that you reminded me as you spoke, the coolest part about the whole persistence story for me personally is the fact that it's like completely headless. So you can like plug in any database, any durability stream. Like you can plug in whatever you want. It's just, you just honor our contract, and you can use whatever you want from any database, like durable streams, from Electric SQL, like Redis, whatever you want. So I think that's the coolest part of the persistent story that we're gonna land soon.
Yeah, and we've been really consistent about that from the beginning with the AI library. We've had, the strategies, so if you want to do like buffering on the token stream to give a smoother response, you can add in your own strategy, you can use ours. And we've always had this idea of, we are giving you contracts, as you say, and then obviously your agent can execute on them, or we often have like a bunch of examples that show you how to go and do that with, the common, backends and all that. All right. Yeah. Tanner, what do we have next? You're muted again, dude.
Sorry, I'm pulling up the agenda here. I think next we're gonna have Kevin come up.
All right.
What up, Kev?
Hey.
You're a little quiet. I'm not sure. I can hear you, but you're just a little quiet.
I was mumbling, so
you're gonna have to use your V9 voice.
All right. Share entire screen. You're gonna have to approve that.
Hey, look, I'm getting better at it.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, a little bit of an infinity there. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about TanStack table version 9. Pretty much just going to go through the main points of our migration guide. Our goal, hopefully this weekend, we're actually going to make this stable, as long as it passes all of our quality checks. But yeah, I'll get a little bit into what TanStack Table version 9 is all about. So one of the number one things we want to highlight is better performance. So this is something where TanStack Table is going to be using both. It's going to be both more memory efficient and way more CPU efficient. We have had a lot of refactors that have gone into that. I did write one article so far about like how we improve the memory usage. Working on the second article, where the runtime performance itself is also getting a lot better. So if you want to dive deeper into that, we have that. But like here are some of the benchmarks from that. So pretty much like as at least in these benchmarks, as these examples grew to like 1 million rows or like 8 million cells, really, we were seeing like up to 90% less usage in TanStack Table, memory usage in TanStack Table version 9 compared to version 8. And practically that kind of means like it used to be capped at like about 1 million rows before TanStack Table itself was going to be like the source of your problems in your web page. Now it can handle 16 or 20 million rows. Whether or not that's like a realistic example, I guess jury's out. We actually have seen like a lot of people run into that kind of stuff before. So at least dozens. Well, also want to pull up the CPU benchmarks here, and haven't published a blog post on this. We're probably going to rerun all this right after or right before the last beta comes out. And we're trying to distill this to a number. If I had to like average it all out, I think that pretty much every row model operation in version 9 is going to be about 50% faster than version 8. Like there's some operations here. I don't know if you can see this, but like it's like 84% faster. And get a little bit more of a visual on this. So like our core row models, about like 70% faster or 200 milliseconds faster at like 400,000 rows of processing. And we'll hopefully have a lot more detail in like a full blog post write-up, but just generally faster all across the board, thanks to multiple refactors throughout the version 9 development. We'll move on to the next thing. State management overhaul is probably the thing that most people are looking most forward to. So number one, React compiler compatibility. And also we just rewrote with TanStack Store. The signals story, if you're using Solid, Svelte, or any of our other like signal backed adapters, it's just a way better experience, getting a little bit closer to true reactivity. And yeah, React, Preact, even let the rendering model works a lot better. Fine-grained subscriptions. This lets you like not have to use React.memo all the time. State management, or like the re-renders are have an opt-in model rather than opt-out. One of the most annoying things about Table V8 was that rendering was always happened and you had to use memo hacks. That's kind of a thing of the past. A few other things, just type safety improvements. If you hated using like declaration merging for table meta, column meta, filter functions and stuff like that, that all still works, but we actually have like per table column meta, per table meta, all that kind of stuff. That was another big improvement. Tree shaking in general. Every feature now is like an opt-in, or every feature was kind of rewritten to work as a plugin. So if you're not using, let's say you're not using pagination in your table at all, you have something virtualized. Your table's virtualized. TanStack Table is not going to even bundle any pagination code in your bundle anymore. Let's see, composability. We have a ton of, I do want to spend a little time on this one. We have a lot more utilities that are like similar to what other TanStack libraries offer. So for example, like in TanStack query, we have the query options utility. So now we have table options. But the biggest thing here is we've took a lot of inspiration from TanStack form v1 with our create table hook. And I can just show a little bit of code here, maybe. But the idea is that everyone really liked the create form hook in TanStack form. And there was no reason for us not to just also bring it to TanStack table. And it works pretty much the same way, although with a little bit more with the feature tree shakeability. But you're able to pre-bound, add pre-bound components to like any cell or header. So if you want every table to have the same sort indicator, the same like select checkbox or the same filter inputs and all that's going to kind of just work via pre-bound components. Let's see. New and refreshed features, just with the new tree shakeable architecture, we've been able to lower the average bundle size for most tables. So that's allowed us to have a lot more growing room, and especially like beyond the version 9 stable release, we're planning a lot more. But like just so far, some things that we've done, added like a new cell selection feature, totally overhauled like the aggregation features to be way more useful, I think, and stuff like that. Let's see, I can also show off just a few examples here right before I have to jump off. We've rewritten our docs to have tons of like component library examples. I can actually just show that here. So we have about twice as many examples in version 9 in React alone that we used to compare to our version 8 docs. You'll see here's just a dozen, or well, I haven't counted in a while, somewhere between a dozen and 20 component libraries examples. We're showing off how to use ShadCN, React Aria, Hero UI, Material UI, Mantine, Chakra, all the like pretty popular libraries out there, how to use that with TanStack table. And I'll just mention this example I made just this past weekend. This is kind of like a stress test for our performance, where I tried to like rebuild Microsoft Excel with just TanStack table and TanStack virtual. Everyone liked that tweet. So here showing off like the new cell selection feature.
This is so cool, by the way.
Yeah. I think I even got that. And by the way, so like this was mostly just I want to highlight that this was mostly AI building it. And TanStack intent was actually a pretty big reason how it was probably able to build this in under an hour without a bunch of errors. Column pinning.
And is
Which
amazing.
is perfect because Sarah's not here today to talk about TanStack intent. So
And we really should. It's like
that's a
big thing.
good like plug for intent and how like critical it's becoming for everything that we're doing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's see, that's all I got. I can hide my screen, but if there's any questions on that, or did you stop share? No.
I don't think so. I could use 2 more minutes of delay if anybody else wanted to say anything. Otherwise, I can make do with where I'm at right this second.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, let's talk about intent. So intent is our way of bringing in AI context and skills into your repository so that they can help out with anything TanStack. And that's really critical because I mean a lot of these tools like the AI models haven't been trained on our stuff. So making sure that they get like the server functions right. Oh my God, that has been such a pain. And it's really important to get it right the first time because otherwise you're just wasting tokens on the AI just trying to figure out what's wrong and use the TypeScript errors and all that. So yeah, no, it's a big win for us and we really should promote it more, I gotta say.
Yeah, I know it's still in version 0, but
yeah, well,
I have so many side projects.
A lot of our stuff is in version 0.
Yeah, I have so many side projects using TanStack.
Not new for us.
I use intent every day, so I don't
Oh,
care
yeah.
if it's in version 0 or not. It's amazing.
Yeah. Actually, chat, if you want to put in like kind of what content you'd be interested in, that would be really helpful in terms of like patching any of the unknowns. I mean, it's nice to have us talk about this kind of stuff on the stream right now. I think it's great. But yeah, let us know. Let us know what's working for you in the docs and the skills.
Let's mention one more thing while this thing that I want to talk about is compiling. At the bottom of the new site, you might notice there is a new subscribe to TanStack news option.
Ooh, yeah.
So we are putting together kind of like a TLDR bytes.dev style newsletter experience for TanStack, and it's going to be really seldom to start, probably just once a month, maybe twice a month if we want to push it. But we'll be landing like a really clean update of everything that's happened over the last 2 weeks or 30 days into your inbox. We've got some of the same authors that write for bytes.dev. One of my good friends, Ben Adam, he's going to be leading the charge on kind of finding the voice for TanStack news, and I think if you've ever read bytes.dev, it's
be a literal irreverent. Yeah.
We're not going to be as irreverent, but with the same energy that he puts into the bytes.dev brand, expect that same energy to come into ours. So that's going to be pretty fun. All right.
And there's been a lot of asks about like when Start is going to be doing 1.0, when's AI going to be doing 1.0. If you want, subscribe to those newsletters. That will be in there. Like when we go, we're going to let you know, and you'll be one of the first. So get on there.
Absolutely. All right. I think I've got my timing down, so I'm going to share my screen.
Here we go.
Don't show the tips again. Window. Yeah, I'm just going to share my whole window. Here we go. Let's get rid of my bookmarks. All right. So let's make this a little bit bigger. There we go. All right. So this is the new site. Andy showed it off earlier. If you just came in and you didn't see it, this is the new site, the new brand. It's really clean. I love it. It's got dark mode everywhere, and it's just the start. Like we're just getting started with the new branding. I'm really excited about it. The other thing that happened recently to tanstack.com is we, even though we went through so much work and polish to bring server components to TanStack Start, one of the things that we did early on was dog food those server components on the website itself. So if you ever came to the blog and were reading through the blog or documentation or anything like that, we were using React server components for the last little while to render that content. And it was great. What that initially did for us was take it, it took us off of shipping a lot of code for our markdown and syntax highlighting pipeline to the browser. So one of the ways that we looked at that and we said, we're using React server components to basically just get rid of these dependencies that are really big. And that is one of the biggest reasons to use server components. It's not the only reason. Some of the other reasons that people will tell you about are, the routing, the things that you can do with routing and server components, or data loading. Really, a lot of the same applications of RSC are what TanStack router and query and things like DB are doing for you anyway. So we don't feel a lot of those other pains. The only one left for us to feel was shipping big dependencies to the client. And so instead of, sticking with React server components, I asked myself, why are we doing this crazy charade of different environments? And, server components come with a cost, a cognitive cost, even in TanStack Start to use. And it was all just so we could avoid shipping a markdown processing pipeline and syntax highlighting pipeline to the browser. And I said, well, what if we could just make those dependencies go away or just be really, really small? Like, why do we have to do that? So I wrote this blog post on why we stopped using React server components. It was basically a wash. And in fact, it got better because even though it was a wash on performance and bundle size, what wasn't awash is the complexity of the code base and how consistent AI was able to just go back to writing normal SSR. So you can read about that in this blog post. But one of the more fun parts, the results of this, was that we needed 2 new libraries to, let's see, that's Manuel's talk about how we support server components in Start. But we built 2 new libraries. Where's the link on there?
Well, just to put a bow in that, though.
Yeah.
We're not saying that this is not an anti-RSC, like we're never doing RSCs. TanStack Start supports RSCs.
Still supports them.
You know, it's just like any tool. Sometimes it's the right tool. Sometimes it's not the right tool.
And I think if you do want to use RSCs, we have the story behind Start for server components is fantastic. It's completely opt-in. Manuel went through painstaking research and writing and design work to make it so that React server components do not like turn your world completely upside down with TanStack Start. They're just completely
you can evolve your way into them, and like they're your way. Like we've given you the primitives, so you can do them at the primitive level. We've given you composite components, so you can take it or leave it at whatever level you want. Anyway, all right.
It turns out for this use case on tanstack.com, we could solve it a little bit better. So I went and wrote a markdown library, and I did do this with the help of AI. I don't think I'm doing anything these days without the help of AI. But really what I wanted was just a dead simple markdown processor that we could use that would be able to have a really simple serializable AST that would allow us to only render the text once, but still support multiple themes, like for light mode and dark mode. It supports streaming. But one thing that it does is it is not supposed to be a huge markdown library for every edge case on the planet, right? So Common Mark is a huge spec that the libraries that cover all of Common Mark they're massive because the edge cases are insane. There's also a lot of like plugin chaining, MDX, JSX evaluation stuff. It's really interesting. But at the end of the day, I'd say the 90 to 99% use case of Markdown doesn't really need all this stuff. And especially shipping things that you would expect to go into like having a bundled highlighter. A lot of Markdown pipelines assume syntax highlighting, so they kind of bundle that together. We don't do any of that. We intentionally do less and only what we consider to be really important. And what that allows us to do is ship a parser that is only about 5 kilobytes big. It's a little smaller than marked. And then we can also ship adapters around them in React and Octane and whatever else we want that really keep it really small. And then everything else is just inversion of control. And if you do want syntax highlighting, there is a companion library called TanStack Highlight. And again, we didn't need to ship an editor highlighter. You know, it's such a different class of operation, shipping a highlighting utility that's going to go land its way inside of like a text editor or something. We just needed something to cover documentation, code that's coming in streamed through AI responses, things for blog posts like highlighting and adding notes and adding lines, that kind of stuff. So what we did is I basically had AI scour the internet, the open source internet, for as many like 90% use cases as I could on syntax highlighting. And then we built a core that is only a little less than 2 kilobytes. And then each language coming in on top of it is just dead simple to enable. So if you wanted to add a new language to TanStack Highlight, it's super lightweight and simple to do. And the way that we do this with TanStack Highlight is we don't ship. There's lots of weird things like with Prism and Shiki. Sometimes they'll ship double elements for different theming. We don't do that. It's very modern, so we rely on CSS variables. we have a base set of languages that you can use, or you can just bring them in one at a time. But at least here on TanStack.com, we are bringing in 25 languages and the base of TanStack Highlight. And I don't know why this, oh, where's the actual bundle size? Yeah. And that's only about 8 kilobytes big, which is amazing because Shiki and many others in text highlighting pipelines are hundreds of kilobytes. And they rely on WASM, and they rely on a lot of tricky things to work. So this is an extremely lightweight, versatile highlighter. And it has adapters for all the major frameworks. So with these two together, these are now powering all of the blog content, all the documentation on TanStack.com. And it really only costs about 15, 16 kilobytes to do that, which we won back by removing all the really complex stuff around React Server components. So those are kind of two of the libraries that came out over the last week that I wanted to highlight. There's one more. I'm just going to refresh my page and see if it's there. And it is. Okay. This is the very first time I've talked about this publicly, so expect things to go wrong. And if anybody wants to come on and like ask questions, like maintainers, if you want to join me and ask questions about this to give some dialogue here, I'm totally fine with that. But I'm just going to share what I've been working on for the last week. So this
what
is TanStack charts.
Oh, dude. Yes. Okay.
And I know to give you a bit of history, I said that I would never do another charting library again. But I said that before I had the power of AI at my fingertips. So a little bit of context, I spent a decade at a startup called Nozzle. My startup I had with some friends, and my job there was basically just to build dashboards and data visualization. That's where Query was born and Table was born. A lot of the products that have come out of TanStack have been because of, basically a means to an end to just visualize complex data. And in the very beginning, I actually worked on a project called Chart.js very early on. If you've ever used Chart.js,
oh yeah,
I built 2.0. So me and Everett Timberg, we rebuilt it, version 2.0. And that was all of our work. And we rebuilt all of the canvas mathematical stuff and all the layering system. I built the animation pipeline inside of Chart.js 2.0. And it's definitely come a long way since then. And then I moved on to D3 powered stuff. So if you've ever used D3, it's kind of the gold standard.
D3.
This is the gold standard for like data visualization on the web. And it's mostly SVG based, but you can do Canvas based as well with some plugins. And D3 is just like the world is your oyster. There's no such thing as a chart type in D3. It is just math utilities and line utilities, SVG utilities, layout algorithms. It's very, very powerful. I got really excited about 2 or 3 years ago when a library came out called Observable Plot. And this is from Mike Bostock, who's also the creator of D3. And Observable Plot is really impressive because it employs something called the grammar of graphics. And so when you look at building a plot, you don't see things like, hey, build me an x-axis, or build me a line, or build me a whatever, which you're probably used to if you look at libraries like Recharts, for example. If you go to Recharts, you're going to see a lot of JSX, and you're going to see a lot of like repetition around what lines to draw. And you'll see a lot of implementation details on how it actually gets drawn to the screen. Observable Plot kind of skipped over a lot of that and just said, you know what, we're here to help people visualize data. Give us the data, tell us how you want to see it, and we will make the decisions for you. And Mike designed this amazing XY Cartesian system with channels all over the place. There's Y, X, Z, R channels for everything. it's a genius system. And I've been using observable plot for the last 3 years. And it's actually what powers stats on NPM right now. So if you come here and check out this chart, this is observable plot. It's very powerful. I'm using like this much of the power of observable plot. But one thing that I didn't like was plot is really, really big. It's a behemoth. You bring it in, it's a kitchen sink. It's like importing all of D3 into your system. So it's really heavy. It can take a long time. It doesn't do amazing with things like SSR. The embeddable aspects of it for like, how responsive is it on a page, and how does it handle data updates? It was definitely built to live inside of observable. That's why it's called observable plot. And observable is a really cool kind of Jupyter notebook situation. And very neat product. Definitely go check it out. But I wanted something that was a lot lighter, very lean. I wanted to be able to build a line chart or plot some data however I wanted, and not have to worry about bringing in a bunch of extra kilobytes. So it employs the same grammar of graphics. If you look through here, yes, you'll see some concepts of X and Y scales, but then you'll see just marks. So you kind of just say, I'm going to make some marks on this visualization. Here's the data that I want to translate into this type of mark. Right now, this is a dot. Over here, we could say, hey, I want to translate this product signal data into lines that are y-axis lines. I also want to translate them into dots. And you don't have to do this for every single series. You're literally just saying, here's the data, here's the kind of mapping visually that I want from it. And then it handles everything else. And then from there, we lay it all out for you. And you can mix and match as much as you want. So none of these right here are chart types. In fact, we don't have components. There's no such thing as a component for a line chart or a stacked bar. Really all those are, if we go to something like this quantitative binned heat map, let's check that out. Oh, I didn't set the iframe headers. That's okay, because I can just do it over here. Quantitative
live demos for the win.
Yeah, heat map.
Yeah,
quantitative binned heat map. Here we go. So this is a heat map. And in a traditional library, you might have a component called heat map. It's like a line. It's like a thing that you have to have. But this is. Let's see. Do we have source code in here? Please tell me we have source code in here. Oh my goodness, we don't have source code in here. Quantitative binned heat map. Why don't we have source code in here? I did yesterday. Source, there it is. Okay.
Hey, there we go.
Here's the source for the quantitative binned heat map. There's obviously going to be some setup around, bringing in the data. But here's how you do it. You create. We encourage you to use D3.
Okay.
And you're supposed to use D3 on a granular level to keep things really lightweight. So we're only importing the things that we need. Bin, there's a binning function. We import the linear scale. There's a sequential scale for the coloring. We import our data. The only things we're importing from TanStack charts is we have a define chart utility. And then we have a rectangle utility, which is the smallest abstraction over making a rectangle in any form that you can imagine. That's just, this is the utility for doing it. And that can be made to use so many kinds of charts. It's a very observable plot kind of a thing. And then down here, and then we have a TanStack mount, which generally this would just come from TanStack charts, where you can just say mount chart. For the sake of this catalog, we had to abstract it a little bit to make it repeatable. But you might look at it and say, wow, this is really scary. Really what we're doing is we're creating bins where we're creating X bins for a domain between 0 and 80. So here's our bins for 0 and 80 left to right. We're doing another set of bins from 0 to 80 up and down. And then once we have created our bins, we can define our chart. And we just have to loop over every single cell and push it into a data item. Like that's the beauty of this, is that your data can come from any type of source. It could be nested, it could be flat. You don't have to transform your data into a specific format for this. We're just doing that here because this is like a data generation step. You wouldn't do this if you already had the data. We're just kind of building a random data thing here. This is where the meat comes in, the really juicy part. So you just grab your data, which is cells, and we made it convenient here, but you could add functions here to map between any property on each data point and say, I want to map this one to X1 and this one to X2, this one to Y1, this one to Y2, Z, key, inset. You just kind of map it to the things that you want. A key is useful because we do animations. So if something has a unique ID, give it a unique ID and we'll kind of track it around the plot. And then you define your scales. Here's a linear scale for each X and Y, and then a sequential scale for color, which this is actually a pretty advanced example. And then you mount it, and that's it. And if you were using React or Octane, you would just render this chart definition into a React or Octane component that does this for you. And it's
Can
all
I actually ask the Silica, like, where does the data come into this?
So the data is translated into.
So it's the cells there?
Yeah. So instead of supplying your data one time into the whole chart, you need to think of it like if you have, say you have a mixed chart where you have a bunch of lines and a bunch of bars and a bunch of tooltips, you would actually supply your data to every single one of those. You say, hey, I want to take the data and make lines. And then I want to take the data and make tooltips for those lines. So it's highly composable, but not in the component way that we've been used to thinking about for React and UI. It's composable in the way of taking a data point and graphically visualizing it somehow.
And cells in this case, is it observable? What is cells?
Cells, that's just an array.
It's just a straight array.
Data. Yeah, it's just an array of data that was built up over here. It wouldn't need to be this. We just did this for this example. Let's go find let's find a really simple example.
Yeah, because you got some really cool animations there going between one state and another. It'd be really cool to see how the data changes, how it observes the data.
Let's just render every single chart and look through these. So here's a line chart. It has some gaps in it, but this is what it looks like. You grab your rows. Your rows will come from anywhere. And you say, hey, I want to make lines, Y lines for this data. I want to use the date as the x-axis. I want to use the value as the y-axis. Here's the color of the stroke width. You could also add stroke as a key of something unique about that line, and it would automatically color them based on the unique key.
Nice.
But that's it. That's all it takes to make a line chart. And if you wanted to mix this with bars, you would just add another entry here after line Y with bars. Or it would be, there's a rectangle utility. There's also a bar Y utility where you can map rows into bars.
Okay. A couple of questions in the chat. So SSR?
Yep. SSR is supported.
Buddy.
Yeah. And that's one of the most important parts that I wanted. I needed SSR charts. And one of the cool things is there's a lot of automatic, there's some measurement stuff going on here that in the client, we can do really cool dynamic measurement. Like right here, we add the exact amount of padding to the left side of this plot right here to make sure that we can fit all the labels.
That's a pain in the butt.
SSR,
you gotta measure that text and stuff.
We do that during SSR with a 4-pass stabilization pass. It doesn't come out perfect all the time, but it's good enough for most SSR outputs. And then when it comes to the client and renders and hydrates, it will animate and snap that margin back to be a little bit better. You can get even better. I'm adding the ability to use pretext from Shenglu. If you really want to get great measurement on the browser, you can do it that way. But it does support SSR. This is a really
and
simple
scalable
one.
SVG and all that.
Yeah. So to build this horizontal bar chart, you use a band scale, and you map it to the category. For the X, you use a linear scale, and then for the marks, you use a bar X to make an X axis bar. And then you can just draw lines on them. So we have a rule on here at 0. It's kind of hard to see there, but you just say, hey, make a line. Like just make a line at X. Which means that annotations are really easy to do in this library as well. Here's a fun one. This is using facets, which is a concept from observable plot. But you can actually pass rows, your data, into a faceting utility, and you can facet by specific properties, and it will create multiple copies of your chart and maintain them across the plot with the same X and Y coordinate alignment. This is all coming from the same data set, but we have faceted the data points into separate charts. You can do as many X and Y facets as you want.
All right, another question for you. So
yeah, go for it.
Updating data. So what happens when your line chart changes over time? Do you remount?
Yeah, so
let's
come up here to let's do this one.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, like that.
So if you're just using the vanilla JavaScript, you just kind of say, you can just do a chart update with new data. You just pass in new data. If you're doing something with React or a framework adapter, you can just re-render, and that new data will be updated inside of there. As long as you're giving the proper keys in places, things will animate. I don't know.
Okay, so
there is an animation example in here somewhere. But it looks really great. I mean, the homepage itself is animating these charts. So you can kind of see, even between chart types, it's doing a best effort to animate between those. Yeah.
You're already getting questions in the chat about when this thing is going to drop, just FYI.
So I wanted to show off a few more things. So the whole point between this and some of the marketing here is, this is a charting system that will work when you need something really simple. Like, I just need a bar chart. That's all I need. Or I need a line chart. And it works really easy to do that. But it doesn't break down when you get into really complex stuff. All of these charts right here, we're leaning into D3, and we're letting D3 do the heavy lifting on some of this stuff, while we take care of the UI, UX frameworky things about them. And one of the reasons that you can feel good about that is that we have documentation and skills already written for AI to help AI understand how to use all of these utilities like a pro. So you can come in and say, hey, I need to see revenue against retention. I'm interested in how many seats, color it by segment. I need tooltips, and keep the account type in every callback, like right here. And AI can look at the skills and look at the library and know how to produce this chart right here and show you exactly what you want to see. AI,
that was one of the problems with D3 back in the day. Is like you really needed to understand. Like, it was a very interesting mental model in D3, and you really it was completely unique, completely bespoke, unlike anything else. And you had to
changing
be
those charts gets crazy, because if you actually I want it to look like this, it's like, well, we got to break this whole thing down and rebuild it. This is extremely token
you're gonna have a problem even finding, like, where's that line drawn? I don't know.
Like, look at
now
going between these types of charts here, you can see that there's really not a whole lot of change happening to go between these different visualizations. So it's very, very token efficient as well when you're working.
But also, I think we can rethink how we do the libraries now and make them much more atomic, because we don't have to provide like a line chart component that you can just drop in. Although, hey, if you want to go and PR the repo and just add in, here's some examples for a standard line chart. Not that that's not in there, but
so stuff like this, like a regression, a linear regression line, that would kind of be like a first class option in a lot of charting libraries. Like you'd have to add a regression line option somewhere, but we don't think in terms of, oh, it like a regression line is a feature. No, a regression line is just a line. So we're plotting the dots here, and then we're just saying, hey, you know what? We also want to plot a line. There's a Y line using over that trend, and that trend is calculated right here using a regression point, which this was produced from one of the skills that AI read to create a regression line. So we're finding that regression and then just plotting the line. The implementation details are much more simple than trying to support a regression feature across every single chart type. And you can get as creative as you want with these lines. They can lines and dots, you know, it just breaks down data into very simple things. This one is a contour map, which just maps over a bunch of data. And that's the other cool thing about this is observable plot is great for has been great about visualizing large data sets using very few SVG elements. One of the huge problems that I see with charting libraries is everybody's trying to tout that metric of like, hey, look how fast we can render 1 million data points. And I'm like, okay, but last I checked, humans, we don't do good counting millions of data points. Like we need to be able to organize data, which is why there's a heavy emphasis on things like data transforms, binning, data transforms, organizing the data into, you know, things with visual encoding that helps you chop through needing to visualize 1 million data points. That said, if you wanted to visualize 1 million data points with this, you could. And if it was really slow with SVG, which it would be, you could just swap out the renderer to a canvas renderer. And you give up some of the SSR, but it works exactly the same. So yeah, there's a lot to explore in here. I don't need to go over everything, but you're just really trying to build a charting library that I want to use every day, and one that I think is going to be really easy to use with AI and lightweight enough that you can bring it in on a project and not feel guilty or bad about the bundle that you're bringing in. I did write it like 100% with AI. I designed it a day or two.
Yeah, but I mean that's everybody now.
Yeah, but the implementation is 100% AI. And guess what? It is type safe. It's as type safe as I could possibly get it myself, maybe even better. So it's holding up to all of the TanStack tenets that you would expect. And I've only been working on it for about a week.
And I learned something I haven't learned before when you were down at the bottom of that page was what a choropleth is.
A choropleth.
A choropleth. Okay, no bad. I was pronouncing like a choropleth, but it's a.
I actually don't know if it's choropleth. I think it's chloro because of color, CHLO. I'm not sure.
Oh, is it? It's C8 choropleth.
Yeah,
anyway, it's a map that shows like highlighted zones by.
This is not released yet. I'm going to do the first NPM release right after we get off this stream, but all the documentation is there. I'll fix this so that the embeds. They worked on my machine, that the embeds will work on TanStack.com in just a moment. The catalog is actually maintained and shipped completely separately from TanStack.com as like a static catalog and assets, and then we import them into TanStack.com just like we do the documentation from Markdown on GitHub, which is kind of a cool little thing. But yeah, there's a lot to go through in here, a lot to explore. But I think the really cool part about it is that if you install it and tell AI to go use it, it's going to be productive out of the gate. And I think that's how most of us are thinking nowadays. And you can feel confident that the visualizations you get out of it are going to be accurate. So that's that.
That's just super exciting. Really cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. And I realized when I said I didn't want to do a charting library, it's because of all of the legwork and time that goes into building this kind of stuff.
Just
And
promise me we'll
I
never
just
do a
wanted
scroll bar library. I hate scroll bars.
I just wanted it to be done, and now I can get there much faster, and so I don't drown in the man hours that it takes to do a charting library.
Yeah.
And now I have a good path forward for people who are using React charts. I can say, hey, here's a successor to that. That's going to give you exactly what you had and more.
And look at you guys for you come on the stream and you get a free, one more thing. And this time it's charting library, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm really stoked on it. In fact,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been excited about using AI to build stuff for a while, but I don't think I decided that it is possible to get into the flow with AI, and I'm having more fun doing this charting library than I ever have in the past, and I didn't think that was possible. So
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to teach us how you get into the flow with AI.
Well, what I don't think, do we have anything else that we need to chat about? Did we have any outstanding
we're done.
questions that we needed to answer?
A lot on the core mechanics of this charting library, D3 comparison and all that. I mean, I think it's kind of thing where when they dig in, it'll be more clear.
Yeah, it's alpha, so there's going to be rough
Yeah.
edges.
And your feedback, guys, is very important to us.
Yeah. As soon as I publish it, I want people to go try it out and just let me know what happens. I expect.
And I really mean that. Like, we put out stuff early specifically because we want folks that are going to be using it to give us like, oh wow, this mechanics here don't match what we really use in the field, that kind of thing. So we really, really want that feedback. Things like knowing that SSR is important to you is incredibly important. Yeah. And we apparently even need a mascot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Could be like the
CMC. I don't have anything else to say. So
all right.
Maybe we close this down with a last hurrah.
Yeah.
Maybe just bring everybody on.
Everybody's back.
There you
What's
go.
up, everybody? Hey, thanks everybody. Some people had to drop already because it's it's a global team, so there's time zones to manage. But thanks everybody for coming, hanging out, and we should do one of these more often.
Agreed.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
All right. How do we shut this
down, everyone?
In the stream button at the top. All right. Bye, guys. See you next time.
For a while.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you guys. Till next time.
Oh, Alem wants to say goodbye.
Oh, bye.
Oh,
Okay,
bye.
there you go.
See you.
All right, guys.
See you at the conference.
Yes.